I stood alone near the wedding cake, watching my son Tyler dance with his new bride, when Courtney approached me with a champagne glass and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She leaned in close, her breath warm against my ear, and whispered words that would shatter my world. "Now we have our own family. I am the main one in his life, and you are superfluous." She pulled back, linked her arm through Tyler's as he walked past, and led him away without a backward glance. My son didn't look at me. Not once. That's when I knew this wasn't wedding day nerves. This was war. My hands trembled as I set down my untouched champagne. The crystal glass clinked against the table, and I watched the bubbles rise and burst, just like my dreams of sharing this day with Tyler. I'd raised him alone from the time he was 12 years old, after his father died in a construction accident. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3 during the holidays, to make sure he had everything he needed. I put him through college, celebrated every achievement, supported every dream. And now, on what should have been one of the happiest days of our lives, I felt like a stranger at my own son's wedding. I looked around the reception hall. White roses and twinkling lights decorated every surface. The dance floor was crowded with laughing guests. Courtney's family occupied the best tables near the front, while I'd been seated in the back corner with distant cousins I barely knew. I should have noticed the warning signs during the wedding planning, but I'd been so happy that Tyler had found someone. I'd ignored the little comments, the subtle ways Courtney had taken control of every decision. I'd told myself she was just being a hands-on bride. I watched them from across the room. Courtney whispered something in Tyler's ear, and he laughed. That familiar sound I'd heard 1,000 times growing up. But now it felt like that laugh belonged to someone else. She had her hand possessively on his arm, guiding him through the crowd like he couldn't navigate on his own. When had my confident, independent son become so dependent on her approval? I took a deep breath and decided to try again. Maybe I'd misheard her earlier. Maybe the stress of the day had made me paranoid. I walked across the reception hall, dodging servers with trays of hors d'oeuvres, and approached Tyler during a quiet moment when Courtney was talking to her bridesmaids. "Tyler, honey," I said, touching his shoulder. "Can we talk for just a minute?" He turned, and for a second, I saw my little boy in his eyes. But then something shuddered, and his expression became guarded. "Mom, I'm kind of in the middle of things here." "I know. I just wanted to tell you how proud I am. You look so handsome, and the wedding was beautiful, and I just wanted to say—" "Tyler!" Courtney's voice cut through my words like a knife. She appeared at his side with the photographer in tow. "We need pictures with my family now. Your mom already had her turn." The emphasis she put on my family versus your mom wasn't lost on me. She said it loud enough for nearby guests to hear. I felt my face flush. "Of course," I said, stepping back. But they were already walking away. Tyler's hand was in Courtney's, and she was pulling him toward her parents, her siblings, her aunts and uncles. I stood there, feeling invisible. The evening wore on. I tried to enjoy myself, tried to celebrate, but every moment felt wrong. When it came time for speeches, I waited to hear my name called. I'd prepared a toast, had practiced it in front of my mirror for weeks. I wanted to tell everyone about the little boy who used to make me breakfast in bed on Mother's Day, who called me every Sunday even after he moved out, who was my whole world for 20 years. Courtney's father stood up first. He gave a long, rambling speech about his little girl growing up, about how Tyler had better take care of her, about the importance of family. Then Courtney's mother spoke, crying as she talked about her daughter's wedding day dreams coming true. The best man gave a funny speech full of college stories. The maid of honor talked about Courtney's loyalty and strength. I waited. I had my notes ready, my glass raised, but the DJ never called my name. The speeches ended, and people started dancing again. I looked at the program I'd been handed when I arrived. My name wasn't listed under the speakers. It had been removed. I caught Tyler's eye across the room, but he looked away quickly. Whether he'd noticed the omission, or whether he'd been part of the decision, I couldn't tell. My throat tightened. Near the end of the reception, I walked over to look at the photo display that had been set up near the entrance. Courtney had insisted on creating a collage of pictures from both families. I'd given her several beautiful photos of Tyler growing up. Him at his high school graduation, him at his first job, him and me at the Grand Canyon on the road trip we took the summer before college. But as I studied the display, my heart sank. There were dozens of pictures of Courtney's family. Her childhood, her birthday parties, her vacations. There were recent photos of Tyler and Courtney together. But there wasn't a single photo of Tyler as a child. Not one picture of him and me together. It was as if the first 30 years of his life had been erased. "Excuse me," a woman I didn't recognize said, approaching me. "Are you a friend of the family?" I turned to her, confused. "I'm Tyler's mother." She looked surprised. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. You're just not in any of the photos, so I assumed." She trailed off, embarrassed, and walked away quickly. That's when it hit me. This wasn't an oversight. This was intentional. Courtney was rewriting Tyler's history, and he was letting her do it. I needed to leave. I needed air. I grabbed my purse and headed toward the exit, but I had to pass by the bridal suite to get to the parking lot. The door was slightly ajar, and I heard voices inside. I should have kept walking. But I heard Courtney's voice, and something made me stop. "Phase 1 complete," Courtney was saying. "I told you I'd get her out of the picture. Tyler is all mine now. She'll be gone within 6 months, I guarantee it." A woman laughed. It sounded like Courtney's mother. "You always were strategic, sweetheart. Just like when you were little, planning everything out." "Tyler doesn't even realize how much I've already changed him," Courtney continued. "He used to call her every Sunday. Now he barely thinks about her. By the time we move to Colorado, he won't even miss her." Colorado? They were moving to Colorado? I pressed myself against the wall, my heart pounding. I felt sick. "And the baby?" Courtney's mother asked. "Perfect timing," Courtney said. "Once I'm pregnant, she'll be even less relevant. My mother will be the grandmother who matters. Brianna will be lucky if she gets a photo in the mail." I backed away from the door, my vision blurring with tears. This wasn't about wedding day nerves or a new bride establishing boundaries. This was a calculated plan. Courtney had targeted my son, and now she was systematically removing me from his life. I drove home in a daze. The empty house echoed around me. I looked at the photos on my mantel. Tyler, at every age, every stage. My beautiful boy, who I'd sacrificed everything for. And now he was gone, taken by someone who saw him not as a person, but as a prize to be won and controlled. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying Courtney's words. Phase 1 complete. What was Phase 2? And how was I supposed to fight someone who was working in the shadows, turning my son against me while smiling to my face? 3 weeks passed without a word from Tyler. 3 weeks of silence that felt like 3 years. He and Courtney had gone to Hawaii for their honeymoon, and I understood that they needed time alone. But Tyler had always been thoughtful. He'd always sent a quick text, a postcard, something to let me know he was thinking of me. I sent him a message on the second day, just a simple, "Hope you're having a wonderful time. Love you." No response. I tried again a week later. "Can't wait to hear about your trip." Nothing. I called once, letting it ring until it went to voicemail. I left a cheerful message saying I missed him and hoped he was making beautiful memories. He never called back. When they finally returned, I texted him a reminder about our Sunday dinner tradition. For years, ever since Tyler had moved into his own apartment at 23, we'd had dinner every Sunday at my house. It was our time to catch up, to stay connected. I'd make his favorite foods, and we'd talk about everything and nothing. It was sacred time, just the two of us. I prepared pot roast that Sunday, his absolute favorite. I made it the way I always did, with carrots and potatoes and that special gravy he loved. I set the table with my good dishes, put out fresh flowers. I texted him that morning, "Dinner at 5, can't wait to see you." At 4:30, my phone buzzed. But it wasn't Tyler. It was a text from Courtney. "Tyler won't be coming to Sunday dinners anymore. We need to establish our own traditions as a married couple. I'm sure you understand." I stared at the message, reading it over and over. Not from Tyler, from her. And that "I'm sure you understand" felt like a slap. I called Tyler immediately. He answered on the fourth ring, and I could hear Courtney's voice in the background. "Mom," he said, and his tone was different. Distant. "What's up?" "Tyler, I got a text from Courtney. About dinner tonight?" "Yeah, Mom. Listen, Courtney is right. I'm married now. Things have to change." "Things have to change?" "Tyler, we've had Sunday dinner for almost 10 years. I made your favorite." "I know, but that's the thing. I can't just keep doing what we've always done. I have a wife now. She comes first." "Of course she comes first, honey. But that doesn't mean you can't see your mother for dinner once a week." "You can both come. I'd love to have Courtney." "She doesn't want to come," Tyler said flatly. "And honestly, Mom, I think she's right. We need to establish boundaries. We need our own life." "Boundaries?" "Tyler, I'm not trying to interfere. I just want to see you." "Mom, I have to go. We're about to have dinner with Courtney's family." The irony wasn't lost on me. He couldn't have dinner with me because he needed to establish boundaries, but he was having dinner with her family. "Tyler, please. Can we just talk about this?" I heard Courtney's voice clearly now. "Tyler, your mother needs to learn to respect our decisions." "I have to go," Tyler said. "Goodbye, Mom." He hung up. I stood there, holding the phone, looking at the pot roast cooling on the stove, at the table set for two. And I felt something inside me crack. Over the next few days, I tried to understand what was happening. I checked social media, something I rarely did, but I needed to feel connected to my son somehow. What I found made everything worse. Tyler had untagged me from photos. Old pictures of us together at his college graduation, at family gatherings, at Christmas, they were all still there, but my name had been removed. When you clicked on the photos, you wouldn't know I was his mother. I was just a nameless woman in the background. I looked at his profile. His relationship status was prominent. Married to Courtney Patterson. Her family members were listed in his family section. Her mother, her father, her 2 sisters. But I wasn't listed at all. It was like I didn't exist. I tried to comment on one of his recent posts, a picture from the honeymoon. I wrote, "So glad you had a wonderful time. Love you." I checked back an hour later. My comment was gone. I tried again on a different post. The same thing happened. My comments kept disappearing. Either Tyler was deleting them, or I'd been restricted somehow, so that only I could see what I wrote. I was shouting into a void. Then things got worse. My friend Linda lived 3 houses down from me. We'd been neighbors for 15 years, and she'd watched Tyler grow up. She used to babysit him when he was younger, and she'd always treated him like one of her own grandchildren. I was walking to my mailbox when I saw her getting into her car. I waved. She looked at me, gave a curt nod, and got in her car without saying a word. I stood there, confused. Linda and I usually chatted for at least 10 minutes whenever we ran into each other. I walked over before she could drive away. "Linda, is everything okay?" She rolled down her window, and her expression was cold. "Brianna, I don't want to get involved in family drama." "Family drama? What are you talking about?" She sighed. "Look, I got a call from Courtney last week. She said you've been harassing them, showing up unannounced, trying to control their marriage." She sounded really upset. I felt like I'd been punched. "Linda, that's not true. I haven't even been to their house. I've barely spoken to Tyler since the wedding." "She said you'd deny it," Linda said. "She said Tyler is afraid to tell you to back off because he doesn't want to hurt you." "Linda, you've known me for 15 years. You know I wouldn't." "I don't want to be in the middle of this," Linda interrupted. "I'm sorry, Brianna, but I think it's best if we keep our distance for a while." She rolled up her window and drove away, leaving me standing in the street. Courtney was spreading lies about me. She was poisoning people against me, and they were believing her. The final blow came a few days later. My niece Sarah was having a birthday party for her daughter Emma, Emma was turning 7, and I'd been to every single one of her birthday parties. I'd been planning to go, had already bought a present. But I hadn't received an invitation. I called Sarah. "Honey, what time is Emma's party on Saturday?" There was a long pause. "Aunt Brianna, I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to tell you." My stomach dropped. "Tell me what?" "Tyler and Courtney said they wouldn't come if you were there. They said there's been some tension, and it would be better if you sat this one out." "Sarah, please. Emma is my great niece. I've never missed her birthday." "I know, and I feel terrible about this. But Aunt Brianna, Emma adores Tyler. And if I have to choose between you and them showing up, I have to choose them. Emma would be heartbroken if Tyler didn't come. So I'm being excluded from family events now?" "Just for a while," Sarah said, but her voice was apologetic, guilty. "Just until you and Tyler work things out." Work things out. As if I was the problem. I decided I had to see Tyler face to face. I had to make him understand what Courtney was doing. I drove to their new house, a beautiful 2-story, in a development 30 minutes from my place. When I pulled up, I saw several cars in the driveway. I could hear music and laughter coming from inside. I walked up to the front door and looked through the window. My breath caught. There were people everywhere. Tyler's friends, Courtney's family, and I even recognized my cousin David and his wife. A housewarming party. They were having a housewarming party, and I hadn't been invited. I stood there watching through the window like a ghost. Tyler walked past carrying a platter of food, smiling and laughing. He looked happy. He looked like he didn't miss me at all. I was about to leave when Tyler came to the window and saw me. Our eyes met. For just a second, I saw surprise, maybe even guilt. But then his expression hardened. He came outside and closed the door firmly behind him. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I was in the neighborhood and I thought." "No, you weren't," Tyler said. "Mom, this is exactly what Courtney was talking about. You can't just show up uninvited." "Invited?" "Tyler, I'm your mother. Since when do I need an invitation to see you?" "Since I got married," he said, and his voice was sharp. "I have a wife now. We have our own life. You need to respect our boundaries." "Boundaries?" "Tyler, she's isolating you from me. Can't you see that?" "She's not isolating me. She's protecting me. From you." The words hit like a physical blow. "From me? Tyler, what has she told you?" "She doesn't have to tell me anything. I can see it myself. You're being clingy. You're being controlling. You need to let me go." "I'm not being clingy. I'm trying to have a relationship with my son." "Mom, you need to leave. Now. Tyler, please." "Now, Mom." He went back inside without another word. Without a hug. Without anything. I stood on his doorstep and watched him rejoin the party through the window. Courtney appeared at his side, put her arm around him, and kissed his cheek. She looked toward the window, directly at me, and smiled. She'd won this round, and she knew it. I drove home in a fog. I couldn't cry. I was beyond tears. I was numb. My son, my beautiful boy who I'd raised alone, who I'd given everything to, had just told me to leave. Had looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. And the worst part? Part of me wondered if he was right. Maybe I was being too clingy. Maybe I needed to let go. Maybe this was just what happened when your child got married and I was handling it badly. But then, I remembered Courtney's words at the wedding, Phase 1 complete. This wasn't normal. This was calculated. And I was losing. I barely slept for the next week. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tyler's face, that hardness in his expression when he told me to leave. I kept replaying every conversation, every interaction, trying to figure out where I'd gone wrong. My friend Janet suggested I might be the problem. "Maybe you are being a little too involved," she said gently over coffee. "Empty nest syndrome is real, Brianna. Tyler is all you've had for so long. Maybe you're having trouble adjusting." Her words echoed in my mind for days. Was I the problem? Had I become one of those overbearing mothers you hear about? Unable to let go? I decided to see a therapist. Someone objective who could tell me the truth. Dr. Patricia Reeves had kind eyes and a calm demeanor. I told her everything. The wedding, Courtney's words, the isolation, the lies being spread about me. I half expected her to tell me I was overreacting. Instead, after our second session, she said, "Brianna, what you're describing sounds like deliberate parental alienation. This isn't about you being clingy. This is about someone systematically removing you from your son's life. But what if Tyler really does need space? What if I really have been too involved? From what you've told me, you had a healthy relationship with your son before Courtney. You respected his independence. You supported his choices. Wanting to see your adult child once a week isn't controlling. It's normal." Her validation should have made me feel better, but instead, it made everything worse. Because if I wasn't the problem, then there was no easy fix. I couldn't change my behavior to make this better. Courtney was the problem, and Tyler couldn't see it. Still, I decided to try one more time to make peace. If I approached Courtney directly, if I showed her I wasn't a threat, maybe we could find a way to coexist. I spent 3 days writing a letter. I rewrote it a dozen times, making sure every word was perfect, non-threatening, open-hearted. The final version read, "Dear Tyler and Courtney, I want you both to know how much I love you and how happy I am that you found each other. The last thing I want is to cause any stress in your marriage or your lives. If I have overstepped in any way, I sincerely apologize. I know that being a new wife is challenging, and I know that establishing your own family unit is important. I never meant to make you feel uncomfortable or pressured. I would love the opportunity to sit down with both of you, maybe with a family counselor if that would help, to talk through any concerns you have. I want to be part of your lives in whatever way feels right to you. I'm not asking for things to be the way they were before. I'm just asking not to lose you completely. Tyler, you are my son, and I will always love you. Courtney, I want you to know that I see you as family now, and I hope we can build a positive relationship. With all my love, Mom." I printed the letter on nice stationery, put it in an envelope with a bouquet of flowers and a box of expensive chocolates that I'd heard Courtney mention liking during the wedding planning. I drove to their house when I knew they'd both be at work and left everything in a gift bag hanging on their front door handle. Then I waited. A week passed with no response. Nothing. Not a text, not a call, not even an email. I tried not to let it hurt. Tried to tell myself they were busy. They were thinking about what I'd said. They needed time. Then Sarah called me. "Aunt Brianna, I need to tell you something, and I don't know how to say this gently." My heart sank. "What is it?" "Courtney has been showing people your letter. She's showing it to everyone. She posted a vague reference to it on social media without using your name, but everyone knows it's about you." "What? Why would she?" "She's using it as proof that you know you were wrong. She's telling people, see? Even Brianna admits she was controlling and invasive. But she still expects immediate forgiveness. She's twisting your apology into evidence against you." I felt sick. The letter I'd spent days crafting, pouring my heart into, was being weaponized. "Sarah, I was just trying to make peace. I know that. I know you. But Courtney is making you look desperate and manipulative. And Aunt Brianna, Tyler is showing the letter to people too. He's agreeing with her interpretation." After I hung up, I checked social media. Sure enough, Courtney had posted a status update. "When toxic people finally admit what they've done, but still expect immediate forgiveness. Boundaries matter. Protect your peace." The post had 47 likes, including one from Tyler. People were commenting, "Good for you for standing firm. You don't owe anyone access to your life. Even family. Toxic is toxic. Blood doesn't matter." Every comment felt like a stab. They thought they were supporting Courtney against some unnamed abuser. They had no idea they were talking about me. 2 more weeks passed. Then Tyler called. I answered so fast, I nearly dropped the phone. "Tyler, honey, I'm so glad. Mom, I need to tell you something. His voice was flat, emotionless. Okay. What is it? Courtney is pregnant. For one shining moment, everything else faded away. A baby. My grandchild. Oh, Tyler, that's wonderful. Congratulations. When... Mom, wait, there's more. Something in his tone made me stop. Courtney and I have been talking. We don't think it's healthy for the baby to be around negativity. The words didn't make sense at first. Negativity? Tyler, what are you talking about? We've decided that Courtney's mom is going to be our main support system. She's going to be in the delivery room. She's going to help with childcare. That's wonderful that you have support. But Tyler, I want to be there too. I want to help. I want to be a grandmother. We'll see, he said. It depends on whether you can respect our choices. Respect your choices? Tyler? Of course I respect your choices. You're having a baby. I'm thrilled for you. Are you? Because Courtney says you've been undermining her from the beginning. She says you never accepted her as my wife. That's not true. I welcomed her. I've tried to include her. She's the one who... See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're blaming her again. Tyler, please. Can we just sit down, the two of us, and talk? No Courtney, no drama, just you and me. 30 minutes over coffee. He was quiet for so long, I thought he'd hung up. Then he sighed. Fine, tomorrow. 2 o'clock at the coffee shop on Main Street. Just us. I spent the next 24 hours preparing what I'd say. I needed to be calm, rational, loving. I couldn't attack Courtney or Tyler would shut down. I needed to help him see the truth, without directly accusing her. I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early and ordered us both drinks. Tyler's favorite, a large caramel latte with extra whipped cream. I remembered. I always remembered. Tyler arrived exactly at 2, and my heart ached at the sight of him. He looked tired, thinner. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before the wedding. Hi, honey, I said, sliding his coffee across the table. Thanks. He didn't smile. So, tell me about the baby. When are you due? Do you know if it's a boy or girl? We're not finding out the gender. Courtney wants it to be a surprise. We're due in 6 months. 6 months. She was 3 months pregnant already, and I was just finding out. Tyler, I want you to know, I'm so happy for you. And I meant what I said in my letter. I'm not trying to cause problems. I just want to be part of your life. Then why can't you just respect our boundaries? I do respect your boundaries. But Tyler, I have to tell you something. I think Courtney... Don't. His voice was sharp. Don't do this. Do what? Try to turn me against my wife. Courtney warned me you'd do this. She said you'd try to poison me against her. I'm not trying to poison you against anyone. I'm trying to help you see that she's manipulating you. Tyler stood up. I knew this was a mistake. Tyler, wait. Please. Just listen to me. The things she's been saying about me aren't true. I haven't been harassing you. I haven't been showing up uninvited constantly. I haven't. Why can't you just be happy for me? His voice cracked. Why does everything have to be a fight? It doesn't have to be a fight. I don't want to fight. I raised you by myself for 20 years, Tyler. I worked myself to exhaustion to give you opportunities. Doesn't that count for anything? That was your job as a parent, he said, and his words were like ice. It doesn't mean you get to control my marriage. I don't want to control your marriage. I just want to be your mother. We were both standing now, our voices raised, other patrons staring, and then Courtney walked in. Tyler? She came rushing over, her face painted with concern. Honey, I got worried when you didn't text me. I was just passing by and saw your car. She wasn't just passing by. There was no way that was a coincidence. She'd tracked his location somehow. I'm fine, Tyler said, but his voice was strained. Courtney sat down at our table without being invited. She put her hand on Tyler's arm possessively. Honey, we talked about this. These meetings without me aren't good for your mental health. She turned to me, and her expression was sympathetic, but her eyes were cold. Brianna, I know this is hard for you. Tyler is all you have. But he's not your emotional support animal. He's my husband. I opened my mouth to respond, but she kept talking. In fact, Tyler's therapist thinks you might have empty nest syndrome. It's making you obsessive. I looked at Tyler. You're seeing a therapist? He wouldn't meet my eyes. Courtney smiled. A thin, satisfied smile. Of course. We're working through his childhood trauma. All that pressure you put on him as a single mother. The guilt you made him feel. Guilt? I never made him feel guilty. I loved him. I supported him. Did you? Courtney tilted her head. Or did you make every sacrifice into a story he had to live up to? Did you tell him over and over how hard you worked, how much you gave up? That's manipulation, Brianna. That's emotional abuse. Tyler was nodding, actually nodding along with her lies. Tyler, you can't believe this. You know our relationship. You know how things really were. But as I looked at my son, I realized he didn't know anymore. Courtney had rewritten our history. She'd taken 20 years of love and twisted it into something dark and unhealthy. And Tyler believed her version more than he believed his own memories. I think you should leave, Mom, Tyler said quietly. Tyler, now, please. I left the coffee shop feeling like I'd lost him completely. Courtney had been there, watching me, knowing she'd won again. And the worst part was that Tyler looked at her like she was his savior, protecting him from me. I sat in my car in the parking lot and finally let myself cry. Not quiet tears, but gut-wrenching sobs that left me gasping. My son thought I'd abused him. My son had a therapist telling him his happy childhood was actually trauma, and there was nothing I could do to fight it because defending myself only made me look more guilty. I was losing, and I didn't know how to stop it. 4 months after the wedding, 6 weeks after the coffee shop disaster, I received an email from Tyler. Not a phone call, not a text. A formal email with the subject line. Important update. I opened it with trembling hands. Mom, Courtney and I have decided to relocate to Colorado. I've accepted a position with a firm there. We think the distance will be healthy for everyone. We're leaving in 6 weeks. Tyler. No love, no explanation. Just cold facts delivered like a business memo. My son and my unborn grandchild were moving 2,000 miles away, and I was finding out via email. Colorado. I looked it up. Denver was 1,674 miles from here. A 24-hour drive. A 3-hour flight. It might as well have been another planet. I tried calling Tyler. Voicemail. I tried texting. No response. I sent an email back, asking if we could talk about this. Nothing. 3 days later, my friend Monica, who worked in real estate, called me. Brianna, I just saw Tyler and Courtney's house listed online. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize they were moving. They are. To Colorado. The listing says they want a quick sale. Something about family issues. I'm sorry, honey. Family issues? Code for me. Even strangers buying their house would hear that I was the problem. In my grief, I went through Tyler's childhood bedroom, which I'd kept exactly as he'd left it. His old posters on the walls, his baseball trophies on the shelves, his yearbooks and photo albums. I pulled out his baby book, the one I'd carefully maintained with every milestone documented. First smile, first word, first day of school. I found his handmade Mother's Day cards, construction paper and glitter, and crayon drawings of stick figures holding hands. I love you, Mommy. You're the best mom ever. Thank you for everything. I decided to make him a memory box. Maybe if he saw these physical reminders of our bond, he'd remember who I really was, who we really were. I spent 2 days carefully selecting items. Photos of us together, his baby blanket, the program from his high school graduation, cards he'd made me, little notes he'd written. I arranged everything beautifully in a wooden box and tied it with a blue ribbon. I drove to their house on a Wednesday afternoon when I knew they'd be home from work. I needed Tyler to see this, to remember. I rang the doorbell. My heart pounded as I heard footsteps. But it was Courtney who opened the door, not Tyler. She looked at me with cold eyes. Yes? Is Tyler home? I brought him something. Tyler isn't available. I'll wait. I need to see him. No, Brianna. You need to leave. I held out the box. This is for him. Childhood memories. I thought he might want them before you move. Courtney took the box, looked through it briefly, then handed it back to me. He doesn't need this. He has me now. I'm his family. I'm his mother. You were his mother, past tense. He's moved on. Why can't you? She started to close the door. Courtney, please, just give him the box. Let him decide. I said no. The door closed in my face. I stood there holding the memory box, feeling more rejected than I'd ever felt in my life. I walked back to my car, defeated. I sat there for a few minutes, trying to compose myself before driving. That's when the mailman approached the house. I was parked right by the mailbox. Afternoon, he said cheerfully. Then he looked at me more closely. You okay, ma'am? I'm fine, thank you. He walked to the mailbox, and as he was putting letters in, one fell from his bag onto the ground. He didn't notice and continued down the street. I got out of my car to pick it up so I could put it in the mailbox. The envelope was from a law office. It was addressed to Tyler, but the envelope was partially open. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew it was wrong, but something made me glance at the paper inside. What I saw made my blood run cold. It was a consultation confirmation for a restraining order hearing against me. I pulled the paper out fully. It listed alleged incidents: harassment, stalking, emotional manipulation, boundary violations. Each incident was dated. The coffee shop meeting, leaving the letter, showing up for the memory box. All of it documented, all of it twisted to look sinister. I was still sitting in my car, staring at the document, when Courtney came back outside. She saw what I was holding, and instead of looking angry or surprised, she smiled. Oh good, you found that. Saves me the trouble of having it served. You're filing a restraining order against me? Against Tyler's mother? Courtney leaned against my car. Tyler and I agreed it's necessary. You're unstable, Brianna. You showed up uninvited multiple times. You won't respect our boundaries. We need legal protection. I'm not unstable. I'm a mother trying to have a relationship with her son. Are you? Or are you an overbearing woman who can't accept that her son doesn't need her anymore? Tyler needs me. He just doesn't realize it because you've brainwashed him. Courtney laughed. Brainwashed? That's dramatic. Or are you just bitter because you couldn't maintain your hold on him? My hold? I raised him. I loved him. That's not holding, that's being a parent. Well, your parenting days are over. Courtney's smile widened, and I saw pure malice in her eyes. Let me tell you what's going to happen. That restraining order will go through because I have documentation of every little thing you've done, and once it's active, you won't be allowed within 500 feet of us, or the baby when it's born. My hand moved instinctively to my mouth. That's right, Courtney continued, clearly enjoying this. No hospital visits, no birthday parties, no holidays, nothing. You'll be legally erased from Tyler's life, and from your grandchild's life before they're even born. Tyler won't let you do this. Tyler already signed off on it. He agrees with me completely. He thinks you're dangerous. I'm not dangerous. Who do you think people will believe, Brianna? A young pregnant woman trying to protect her family? Or a bitter older woman who can't accept that her son doesn't need her anymore? The optics are really clear here. She straightened up, preparing to go back inside. You know what the best part is? She said. When we move to Colorado, you won't even know where we live. Tyler agreed not to give you our new address. You'll never find us. Your son will raise your grandchild 2,000 miles away, and you won't be part of any of it. That baby won't even know you exist. She walked back inside, leaving me sitting there with the restraining order papers. I looked at the house, knowing Tyler was inside, knowing he was going along with all of this. My son, my baby, the child I'd raised alone, sacrificed for, loved with everything I had, and he was letting his wife erase me from his life. I drove home in a daze. When I got there, I spread the restraining order papers out on my kitchen table and read through them carefully. The allegations were all lies, but they were clever lies. Taken individually, my actions could look concerning. Showing up at their house, following Tyler to work, refusing to accept boundaries. Out of context, I looked like a stalker. But I wasn't. I was just a mother trying to save her son from a woman who was systematically destroying our relationship. And now, she was using the legal system to finish the job. I couldn't let this happen. I couldn't let Courtney win. But I was running out of options, and time was running out. The hearing was in 2 weeks. Once that restraining order was in place, I'd lose Tyler forever. I had to find a way to fight back. But how do you fight someone who's always 3 steps ahead? The next morning, I found a family law attorney. His name was Stephen Walsh, and he had good reviews online. I couldn't really afford a lawyer, but I scraped together what money I had. This was worth going into debt for. Stephen's office was small, but tidy. He looked at the restraining order papers, read through them carefully, then looked at me over his glasses. "Mrs. Brianna, these allegations are serious. If Courtney has any evidence, texts, voicemails, witness statements, this could go through. But they're lies. I didn't harass them. I just wanted to see my son. I understand that. The problem is, you did go to their house uninvited. You did send the letter. You did show up at Tyler's workplace. In isolation, if she frames these correctly, they look like harassment. So what do I do? My honest advice? Stay completely away from them. Any contact now will be used against you in the hearing, but doing nothing means I lose him. Doing something might mean legal consequences and a criminal record." I left his office feeling trapped. Damned if I did, damned if I didn't. Every move I made, Courtney turned against me. And staying still meant letting her win by default. I decided I had to tell someone in the family what was really happening. Maybe if they understood, they could talk to Tyler. I called a family meeting at my sister-in-law Diane's house. Diane was Tyler's aunt, and I'd always been close with her. Her 2 daughters, Tyler's cousins, came too. I laid everything out for them. The wedding incident, the isolation, the lies Courtney was spreading, the restraining order. I showed them the papers, showed them evidence of how I'd been shut out. At first, they seemed sympathetic. Diane held my hand. "Oh, Brianna, I had no idea it was this bad." But then she said, "Have you considered that maybe you are being a bit too involved?" I felt like I'd been slapped. Too involved? Diane, I've barely seen him since the wedding. I know, but sometimes when we're hurting, we don't see our own behavior clearly. Tyler seems happy with Courtney. Maybe you need to step back and let him live his life. That's what Courtney wants you to think. She's manipulating all of you. Tyler's cousin Jennifer spoke up. "Aunt Brianna, I don't mean this harshly, but are you sure you're not reading too much into things? New brides can be territorial. It's normal. Maybe this is just adjustment period stuff." "It's not adjustment period stuff. She's filing a restraining order against me." "Well, maybe if you hadn't shown up at their house so much." Jennifer stopped, realizing how that sounded. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that." But she did mean it. They all believed I was the problem. Courtney had gotten to them too. I left Diane's house feeling more alone than ever. My own family didn't believe me. Tyler didn't believe me. Nobody believed me. That night, desperate and furious, I sat down at my computer and started typing a Facebook post. I was going to tell everyone exactly what was happening. I was going to expose Courtney for who she really was. I typed it all out. The manipulation, the lies, the systematic isolation, the restraining order. I poured everything onto the screen, 5 paragraphs of raw truth. My finger hovered over the post button. Then I stopped. If I posted this, I'd look unstable. I'd look like a bitter mother-in-law attacking her son's wife. It would be more evidence for Courtney to use against me. She'd screenshot it, show it to the judge. Say, "See? This is why we need protection. She's spreading lies about me online." I deleted the post. I felt like I was suffocating. There was no way to defend myself that didn't make things worse. A few days later, I found out that Tyler was still working at his current job for another month before the Colorado move. I knew where his office was. I knew when his lunch break usually was. I decided to try one more time to talk to him, away from Courtney, away from distractions. I waited in the parking lot during lunch hour. When Tyler came out, I got out of my car and approached him. He saw me and stopped, his expression guarded. "Tyler, please. 5 minutes. There's a restraining order. This is getting out of control." "It's only getting out of control because you won't leave us alone, Mom." "I'm leaving you alone because you're making me. All I wanted was to have a relationship with you. That's not unreasonable." "Mom, Courtney told me you'd try this. She said you'd play the victim and make it seem like I'm the one being unfair. Has it occurred to you that maybe Courtney is lying? Has it occurred to you that maybe you're the one who's wrong?" He pulled out his phone. "She's waiting for my check-in call. I need to go." "Tyler, wait." I reached out and grabbed his arm gently, just trying to keep him from walking away. He jerked back like I'd burned him. "Don't touch me." "Tyler, I'm your mother. I love you. That's what makes this so hard, Mom. You use love as a weapon. You always have. Goodbye." He walked back into the building, and I stood there in the parking lot, feeling like my world was ending. The next day, I got a call from the police. A professional, courteous officer explained that someone had reported me for harassment. "Mrs. Brianna, we have a complaint that you showed up at Tyler Walsh's workplace yesterday. I just wanted to talk to my son." "That may be, ma'am, but given there's a pending restraining order, I need to warn you. Any further contact could result in arrest." "Arrest? For trying to talk to my son? For violating the terms of a potential restraining order. I'm giving you a formal warning. If there are any more incidents, we'll have to take action." The officer was kind, but I could tell what he thought. Another mother with boundary issues. He'd probably seen it dozens of times. After he left, I sat in my living room and felt the walls closing in. Courtney was building a perfect legal case against me. Every desperate attempt I made to reach Tyler became another piece of evidence that I was dangerous, unstable, obsessive. That evening, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, I was shocked to see Courtney standing there, alone. "Can I come in?" she asked, and her voice was tired, almost vulnerable. "I think we need to talk." I didn't trust her, but I was so desperate for any kind of resolution that I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on my couch, and for a moment, she looked like just a tired, pregnant woman, not the monster who'd been destroying my life. "Brianna, I don't want things to be like this. I never wanted a restraining order." Hope flared in my chest. Maybe she'd seen reason. Maybe we could fix this. "If you're willing to truly step back," Courtney continued, "we can drop all of this. You can see Tyler occasionally. Maybe even be in the baby's life. A little." "What do you mean by step back?" Courtney reached into her purse and pulled out a document. Multiple pages, typed and formatted like a legal contract. "It's a family agreement," she said. "Terms we can all live with." I took the papers and started reading. With each line, my hope turned to horror. The terms included: I could see Tyler only twice a year, and only with Courtney present. I could never be alone with my grandchild. I could not give parenting advice or criticize any decisions Courtney and Tyler made. I could not contact Tyler without Courtney's express permission. I had to attend therapy for boundary issues. I had to acknowledge in writing that I had been controlling and manipulative. This wasn't a family agreement. This was a surrender document. "You want me to sign away my relationship with my son?" Courtney's vulnerable act dropped away. "I want you to accept reality. This is your choice, Brianna. Sign this, and we drop the restraining order. You'll get to see Tyler twice a year. That's more than you'll get if we proceed with the legal route." "This is insane. This is generous." Courtney stood up. "You have 48 hours to decide. Sign away most of your rights to Tyler and your grandchild, or lose them completely. We'll proceed with the restraining order, move to Colorado, and you'll never see any of us again." Tyler will never agree to this. Tyler already has. He signed his copy an hour ago. The words hit me like a physical blow. My son had agreed to reduce me to 2 supervised visits per year. He'd signed off on cutting me out of his life, out of his child's life. Courtney walked toward the door, then turned back with a satisfied smile. Oh, and Brianna? If you tell Tyler about this conversation, or show him this document, I'll deny everything and say you forged it. Who do you think he'll believe? His pregnant wife or his obsessive mother? She left, and I stood in my living room, holding the contract that would make me a legal stranger to my own family. I looked at the terms again. Twice a year, never alone with my grandchild, no contact without permission. It was designed to hurt, to humiliate, to break me. But the alternative was losing them completely. I had 48 hours to decide whether to fight and risk everything, or surrender and keep the scraps she was offering me. Neither option felt survivable. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the family agreement, my mind racing through impossible choices. Sign it and accept a hollow shell of a relationship with Tyler, seeing him twice a year like some distant relative. Refuse and face a restraining order that would make me a criminal if I so much as drove past their house. 48 hours. That's all I had. The next morning, exhausted and desperate, I went to my usual coffee shop. I needed to get out of my house, away from those papers mocking me from the table. I ordered my coffee and sat by the window, staring at nothing. Brianna? I looked up to see Susan Martinez, an old friend I hadn't seen in months. We'd met through a book club years ago and had stayed friendly, though we'd drifted apart recently. Susan, hi. She took one look at my face and sat down without asking. What's wrong? You look terrible. And just like that, I broke. I told her everything. The wedding, the isolation, the lies, the restraining order, the impossible choice I was facing. All of it came pouring out. Susan listened quietly, her expression growing more and more concerned. Then she asked something unexpected. Wait, your son married someone named Courtney? From where? She's from here. Well, she grew up in Riverside, about 40 minutes south. She worked as a marketing consultant before the wedding. Susan's face changed. What's her maiden name? Patterson. Courtney Patterson. Why? Susan went pale. Brianna, I think I know her. Or, I knew someone like her. My heart started pounding. What do you mean? About 8 years ago, my nephew dated a woman named Courtney Patterson. Same description you just gave me. Same hometown, same job even. Are you sure it's the same person? Blonde hair, about 5'6", that smile that doesn't reach her eyes. That's her. Susan's hands were shaking. Brianna, she did the exact same thing to my nephew. Exactly the same. She systematically isolated him from our whole family. Made it look like we were the problem, like we were interfering. My brother tried to intervene, tried to tell his son what was happening. She made it look like harassment. She filed a restraining order against my brother. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. What happened to them? They were engaged. My nephew was head over heels in love. 2 weeks before the wedding, she disappeared. Just vanished. Took $35,000 he'd given her for wedding expenses. My nephew was devastated. We tried to find her, tried to press charges, but she'd covered her tracks perfectly. She's done this before. That's what we always suspected. She was too good at it, too practiced. The manipulation was too smooth, but we could never prove it. My mind was racing. If Susan was right, if this was a pattern, then maybe there were others. Maybe I could find them. Maybe I could prove what Courtney really was. Susan, would you be willing to help me? To testify about what she did to your nephew? Absolutely. Brianna, if this woman is doing to you what she did to us, you need to stop her. That afternoon, Susan and I sat down together and started researching. We searched social media, old news articles, anything we could find about Courtney Patterson. What we found was strange. Her social media presence only went back 3 years. No college photos, no high school throwbacks, no old friends tagged from her past. It was like she hadn't existed before 3 years ago. "This isn't normal," Susan said. "Everyone has old photos, old connections, unless she deleted them all, or unless she's hiding something." Susan looked at me. "I think you need professional help with this. A private investigator. I can barely afford my lawyer. I can't afford a PI, too." "How much do you have?" I told her. It wasn't much. My savings had been depleted paying for Tyler's college, and I'd been living month to month ever since on my modest income. "Let me help," Susan said. "My nephew would want this. He never got justice. Maybe we can get it for both of you." Together, we pooled our money and hired a private investigator named Marcus Chen. He was professional, thorough, and he agreed to work within our budget. We gave him everything we knew about Courtney. "I'll see what I can find," he said. "But I need you to understand, this might not turn up anything useful. People can be manipulative without being criminals." "Just try," I said. "Please." While we waited, I had to deal with Courtney's 48-hour deadline. It came and went. I didn't sign the family agreement. I couldn't. Signing it would mean admitting I was the problem, accepting that I deserved to be cut out of Tyler's life. I wasn't ready to surrender, even if it meant the restraining order would go through. 1 week later, Marcus called. "I found something. Can you come to my office?" Susan and I went together. Marcus had papers spread across his desk, and his expression was grim. "Courtney Patterson has had 3 previous identities." My breath caught. She was born Courtney Patricia Sanders 41 years ago. Not 29 like she claims. She's been married twice before. First to a man named Gregory Hoffman. That marriage lasted 2 years. She isolated him from his family, particularly his mother. When they divorced, she took half his assets. His mother died 6 months later. Fell down the stairs in her home. It was ruled accidental. I felt sick. Her second marriage was to Daniel Wright. Same pattern. Systematic isolation from his family, particularly his elderly parents. That marriage lasted 3 years. She divorced him and took half his assets. His mother died a year later from a heart attack brought on by extreme stress, also ruled natural causes. She's killed people? I can't prove that. Both deaths were ruled accidental or natural, but the pattern is suspicious. After each death, she gained financially. Gregory's mother had a life insurance policy that went to him, which became community property. Daniel's parents had left their estate to him, which he received during the marriage. Marcus pulled out more papers. After each marriage ended, she changed her identity. New name, new background, new age. She's good at covering her tracks, but she got sloppy in a few places. He showed me an email. I found this in an old account she didn't fully delete. It's from her previous identity, sent to her mother. Look at the date. It's from 2 months after she met Tyler. I read the email, and my hands started shaking. "Mom, the plan is working perfectly. Tyler has a trust fund worth $250,000 that he accessed 2 years ago. His mother has life insurance for $300,000 and a house worth about $400,000. Once I'm in position and the mother is out of the way, we're talking nearly $1 million. This one's going to be the big score. Love, C. She's a predator," I whispered. "She targets men with strong maternal figures and substantial inheritances or assets," Marcus said. "Tyler fits the profile perfectly. But how does she find them?" "Dating apps, social events, strategic networking. She researches her targets carefully, finds out about their finances, their family situations. Then she moves in." I looked at the email again. She mentions getting me out of the way. Marcus's expression was grim. In the email, there are other details. She mentions she's already been through your medicine cabinet, making notes about your daily routine. She talks about how elderly women have accidents all the time. She's planning to kill me. I can't prove intent, but the language is concerning, especially given the pattern with the previous mothers-in-law. Can we use this in the restraining order hearing? Maybe. But we have to be strategic. If we show our cards too early, she'll deny everything and destroy other evidence. The hearing is in 3 days. We need to be smart about this. I felt hope for the first time in months, but it was tinged with terror. Courtney wasn't just manipulative, she was dangerous. And my son had no idea he'd married a woman who might be planning to murder his mother. "We have to tell Tyler," I said. "Not yet," Marcus said. "He won't believe you. Courtney has spent months conditioning him to distrust everything you say. If you go to him now, he'll just warn her, and she'll disappear. We've seen her do it before. So what do? We wait for the hearing. We present the evidence to the judge. We let the legal system handle it. And we hope it's enough." The next few days were the longest of my life. I barely ate, couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Tyler, about how close he was to danger, and didn't even know it. I wanted to call him, to warn him, to shake him until he saw the truth. But I forced myself to wait, to trust the process, to hope that justice would prevail. The night before the hearing, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello? Brianna. It was Courtney. I know about your little investigation." My blood ran cold. How did she know? "I have friends in useful places," she said, as if reading my mind. "A paralegal at your PI's office mentioned you've been digging into my past. So let me tell you how tomorrow is going to go. I'm done listening to you. You'll listen to this. I've manufactured evidence. Screenshots of texts you never sent. Voicemails that sound exactly like you but aren't. Witness statements from people who'll swear you've been stalking us. Your little email discovery? I'll claim it's forged. And who do you think the judge will believe? A desperate older woman with a documented history of harassment, or a young pregnant woman trying to protect her family? The truth will come out. Will it? Because from where I'm standing, I have all the power, and you have nothing but conspiracy theories." She hung up. I sat there shaking. She was right about one thing. She'd spent months building a case against me. She had documentation, witnesses, evidence. All I had was an email that she could claim was fake and testimony from people she'd victimized years ago. But I also had the truth, and I had to believe that mattered. The next morning, I put on my best dress and drove to the courthouse with Susan and Marcus. Stephen Walsh, my attorney, met us there. "Are you ready?" he asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." We walked into the courthouse, and I saw Tyler and Courtney waiting outside the courtroom. Tyler wouldn't meet my eyes. Courtney looked confident, even smug. She touched her belly in a protective gesture, playing the role of concerned mother-to-be. A bailiff called us in. The judge, a middle-aged woman named Judge Patricia Reynolds, took her seat and looked at the paperwork in front of her. "This is a hearing for a restraining order. Courtney Walsh is petitioning for protection from Brianna Walsh. Let's proceed." This was it. My one chance to save my son and myself. I prayed it would be enough. Courtney took the stand first. I watched as she transformed before my eyes. Her body language became smaller, more vulnerable. Her voice wavered slightly, like she was barely holding herself together. It was a masterful performance. "Your Honor, I'm here because I'm afraid." She touched her belly again. "I'm 7 months pregnant, and I'm afraid for my baby's safety." She described incident after incident. The wedding where I allegedly made inappropriate demands. The Sunday dinners where I supposedly guilt-tripped Tyler. The times I showed up uninvited at their home. Each story was a twisted version of the truth, told in a way that made me sound unhinged. Then she played edited voicemails. My voice, but cut in ways that made innocent messages sound threatening. "I need to see you. We have to talk about this. I'm not going to let this happen." Out of context, they sounded ominous. She showed photos of my car outside their house on multiple occasions. She presented text messages that I didn't remember sending, but they looked authentic. Screenshots of me allegedly leaving hostile comments on her social media before she blocked me. Tyler sat in the gallery, nodding along with everything she said, his face a mask of concern. Judge Reynolds looked sympathetic. "Miss Courtney, I can see this has been very difficult for you." Courtney wiped away a tear. "Your Honor, I just want to protect my family. Brianna can't seem to accept that Tyler is married now, that he has his own life. I'm afraid of what she might do." My attorney tried to cross-examine, but Courtney had an answer for everything. She was too good at this. I could see the judge believing her, seeing me as exactly what Courtney claimed, an unstable mother who couldn't let go. Then it was my turn. I took the stand with shaking hands. Stephen guided me through my testimony. I explained my relationship with Tyler, the closeness we'd always had. I described the wedding incident, Courtney's whispered words. I talked about the systematic isolation, the lies she'd spread. But Judge Reynolds interrupted me. "Miss Brayna, many mothers struggle when their sons marry. That doesn't excuse boundary violations." "Your Honor, if I may," Stephen said, "we have additional evidence." He submitted Marcus's private investigator report. The judge took time to read through it, her expression growing more serious with each page. Tyler's face went white as he read his copy. I could see him struggling to process what he was reading. Courtney's attorney objected. "Your Honor, this is a smear campaign. Miss Courtney had relationships that ended badly years ago. She legally changed her name to escape an abusive situation. This is victim blaming." "Let's hear the evidence," Judge Reynolds said. Stephen presented the documentation of Courtney's 3 identities. Her 2 previous marriages. The pattern of isolation and financial gain. The deaths of the 2 mothers-in-law, both ruled accidental or natural, but suspiciously timed. Tyler was staring at Courtney now, and I could see doubt creeping into his expression. Then Stephen presented the email. He read it aloud, and the courtroom went silent. The plan, the trust fund amounts, getting me out of the way. The note about elderly women having accidents. Courtney tried to maintain her composure. "Your Honor, that email is fabricated. It's not real. This is desperation." "The email includes metadata, server stamps, and IP addresses," Stephen said. "We can verify its authenticity." Courtney's attorney jumped in. "Your Honor, even if that email is real, it doesn't prove anything illegal. Planning to have a good relationship with her husband isn't a crime. Wanting financial security isn't a crime. This is just a desperate woman grasping at straws." Judge Reynolds looked uncertain. Technically, Courtney's attorney was right. Mercenary intentions weren't illegal. "Your Honor," Stephen said, "we have one more witness. Susan Martinez." Susan took the stand and told her story. Her nephew. The identical pattern. The engagement. The $35,000 that disappeared. She described Courtney's tactics in detail, how they matched exactly what was happening with Tyler. But during cross-examination, Courtney's attorney pressed hard. "Do you have proof this is the same woman? Names are common. Physical descriptions can be misleading." "I have photos," Susan said. She presented pictures from 8 years ago, Courtney, with Susan's nephew. The same woman, undeniably. Tyler made a sound, almost a gasp. He was staring at the photos, then at Courtney, then at the photos again. Marcus took the stand next. As a professional investigator, his testimony carried weight. He presented his findings methodically. 3 identities, 2 previous marriages, the pattern of behavior, the suspicious deaths. She targets men with assets and strong maternal relationships, Marcus said. She isolates them, gains control of finances, and eliminates the maternal figure. Tyler Walsh fits her target profile perfectly. I watched Courtney. For the first time, she looked rattled. Her attorney was objecting repeatedly, but Judge Reynolds was allowing the testimony. Then Courtney made a critical mistake. She demanded to take the stand again for rebuttal. Her attorney tried to stop her, but she insisted. She was agitated now, losing the vulnerable act. "That was different," she said, talking about Susan's nephew. "That man wasn't right for me. I had to protect myself." By admitting it was her, she'd confirmed Marcus's findings. Tyler is different, she continued, her voice rising. He needs me. He's weak without me. His mother made him weak with all her coddling and guilt trips. Judge Reynolds interrupted. Miss Courtney, are you saying you intentionally isolated your husband from his mother? I was protecting him from her manipulation. Courtney's composure was cracking. She had too much control over him. I needed to break that. It was necessary for our relationship. Courtney, what are you saying? Tyler stood up in the gallery, his voice shaking. Courtney turned to him. Tyler, sit down. This is exactly why I had to control the situation. You can't handle difficult conversations. You've always been too weak. The courtroom went silent. Everyone could see it now. The mask was falling away. You said you loved me, Tyler said, and his voice sounded like a child's. You said we were partners. Courtney's face hardened. Your mother is pathetic, and so are you. Do you know how easy it was to manipulate you? How desperate you were for someone to validate you. I chose you because you were weak, and you had money. That's it. She looked around the courtroom, seeming to realize too late what she was saying, but she couldn't stop. If you think I actually love you, you're even more stupid than I thought. This was always about the money. The trust fund, the life insurance, the house. That's all you were ever worth to me. Tyler's face crumbled. Stephen was frantically taking notes. Courtney's attorney had his head in his hands. Judge Reynolds banged her gavel. I've heard enough. The restraining order petition is denied. Moreover, based on what I've heard today, I'm ordering a fraud investigation into Miss Courtney's activities. Bailiff, please escort Miss Courtney to holding. I have questions about the fabricated evidence she submitted to this court. You can't do this, Courtney shouted as the bailiff approached. I'm pregnant. You can't arrest a pregnant woman. I can hold you for perjury and filing false police reports, Judge Reynolds said coldly. We'll start there. As they led Courtney away, she was screaming threats and accusations. The Vulnerable Pregnant Woman Act was completely gone, replaced by rage. Tyler sat down heavily, his face in his hands. Judge Reynolds addressed him directly. Mr. Walsh, I strongly suggest you seek legal counsel. You may have been the victim of fraud and emotional manipulation. This court will provide you with resources. Then she turned to me. Miss Brianna, I apologize for what you've been put through. The evidence shows you were defending yourself against a calculated campaign of harassment and alienation. You're free to have contact with your son. In fact, I think you both need to have a long conversation. The hearing was over. People filed out. Stephen shook my hand. You did it. You actually stopped her. I couldn't feel triumphant yet. All I could see was Tyler, sitting alone on a bench in the gallery, his whole world shattered. I approached him slowly. Tyler? He looked up, and his eyes were red. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I sat down next to him and pulled him into a hug. He collapsed against me and cried like he used to when he was a little boy, and something scared him. I believed her, he sobbed. I believed everything she said about you. I let her turn me against you. How did I not see it? She was good at what she does, honey. She's done it before. You weren't the first, and if we hadn't stopped her, you wouldn't have been the last. I said terrible things to you. I thought terrible things about you. About my own mother. We'll work through it. That's what families do. We work through things. The baby, he said, pulling back. She said she was pregnant. Was that a lie too? I didn't know. But in the days that followed, we found out. There was no baby. Courtney had been wearing a fake belly, playing the role of expectant mother to gain sympathy and make her seem more vulnerable. It was all part of the con. Tyler was devastated all over again. Not because he'd wanted a baby with Courtney, but because every single thing she'd told him was a lie. Their entire relationship had been built on deception. He moved back home with me temporarily while he figured things out. The first few weeks were hard. He was angry at himself, depressed, struggling to process the extent of the manipulation. He started therapy with a different therapist, one who specialized in helping victims of emotional abuse. One Sunday, about 6 months after the hearing, we were having dinner at my house, our tradition restored. Tyler had made the pot roast this time, insisting he wanted to take care of me for a change. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Anything, honey. How did you keep going? When everyone turned against you, when it looked impossible, when even I didn't believe you. How did you not give up?" I thought about it carefully. I learned something important through all of this. Sometimes love means fighting, even when everyone says you're wrong. Sometimes being a mother means being the villain in someone else's story, as long as you're the hero in your child's real story. I set down my fork and looked at him. I learned that the truth has power, but only if you're patient enough to let it emerge. I wanted to scream, to force people to see what was happening, but that would have made me look as crazy as Courtney said I was. So I waited. I gathered evidence. I let the truth come out in its own time. But how did you know it would come out? I didn't. I just had faith that it would. Because real love doesn't manipulate. It doesn't isolate. It doesn't control. Real love trusts. And even when that trust is betrayed, real love keeps showing up. Tyler's eyes were wet. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. You were a victim, Tyler. Just like Susan's nephew. Just like Courtney's previous husbands. You didn't fail. She targeted you because you have a good heart, and because you were capable of love. Those aren't flaws. I'm still angry at myself. That's okay. Be angry. Process it. But don't let her steal any more of your life. She took months from us. Don't give her years." Tyler reached across the table and took my hand. "I love you, Mom. I never stopped, even when I thought I should. Somewhere deep down, I knew. I love you too, sweetheart. Always have, always will." There was a knock at the door. Tyler went to answer it, and I heard familiar voices. Susan had arrived, and she'd brought her nephew, Derek. We'd invited them for dessert. Derek shook my hand. "Mrs. Brianna, I wanted to thank you. You stopped her. You actually stopped her. She can't hurt anyone else now." After the hearing, the fraud investigation had uncovered more. Courtney had scammed at least 5 other men over the years, not just the 2 she'd married. She was facing multiple charges. She'd likely spend years in prison. "I didn't do it alone," I said. "Susan helped. Marcus helped. Even Stephen, my attorney. We all worked together." "But you didn't give up," Derek said. "When she did this to me, I just let her go. I was too embarrassed to fight. You fought. And now, she can't do this to anyone else." We all settled around the dinner table. Tyler had set up his laptop to video call my sister-in-law, Diane, and some other family members. He'd spent the past months reconnecting with everyone, explaining what had happened, undoing the isolation Courtney had created. "I need to apologize to everyone," Tyler said on the call. "I let someone come between me and my family. I said things and did things I deeply regret. But I want you all to know who my mom really is. She's the strongest person I know. She fought for me even when I was fighting against her." Diane was crying. "Oh, Brianna, I'm so sorry we didn't believe you." "You believed what you were told," I said. "Courtney was very convincing. We should have known better. We should have trusted you. You trust me now. That's what matters." Tyler raised his glass. "To Mom, the strongest woman I know. Who taught me what real love looks like. Who never gave up, even when she had every reason to." Everyone raised their glasses, both in person and on the video call. I felt tears running down my face, but they were good tears this time. Happy tears. The doorbell rang again. More family arriving, the house filled with voices and laughter. My home, which had been so empty for so many months, was full again. Tyler hugged me. "Thank you for saving me, Mom. That's what mothers do, honey. We fight for our children, no matter what." Later that evening, after everyone had left, Tyler and I sat on the porch with tea. It was a beautiful night, stars bright in the clear sky. "What do you think you'll do now?" I asked. "The Colorado job fell through, obviously. I'm staying here, close to you. I'm looking for something local. And Mom, I want to help other people who've been through this. Maybe volunteer with organizations that help victims of emotional abuse. Turn this nightmare into something positive. I think that's a wonderful idea. Courtney tried to take everything from me, my past, my family, my future. But she failed. Because of you. Because you were worth fighting for. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Tyler said, I know I've said this a lot, but I really am sorry for what I put you through. I forgive you, Tyler. I forgave you the moment you opened your eyes and saw the truth. That's what family does. We forgive. We move forward. We grow. I don't know how you stayed so strong. Because I knew one thing that Courtney could never take away from me. I knew that underneath all her lies and manipulation, my son was still there. The little boy who made me breakfast in bed on Mother's Day. The teenager who called me after his first heartbreak. The young man who used to come to Sunday dinners and tell me about his week. That Tyler never went away. He was just hidden for a while. And I knew if I kept fighting, I'd get him back. You did get me back. We got each other back. Tyler leaned his head on my shoulder, and for a moment, he was my little boy again. The son I'd raised, the child I'd protected, the person I'd never stopped fighting for. I learned something too, Tyler said quietly. I learned that real love doesn't try to separate you from people who care about you. Real love doesn't rewrite your history or make you ashamed of your past. Real love doesn't make you choose. Courtney taught me what fake love looks like. You taught me what real love is. We sat there as the stars came out, mother and son, together again. Courtney had tried to destroy us, but she'd failed. Our bond was stronger than her manipulation. Our love was more powerful than her lies. And as I sat there with my son beside me, I realized something important. I hadn't just saved Tyler. I'd saved myself. I'd proven to myself that I was strong enough to stand alone when I had to, brave enough to fight when everyone said I was wrong, patient enough to wait for the truth to emerge. Courtney had tried to make me superfluous, unnecessary, irrelevant. But she was wrong. I was Tyler's mother. I always would be. And that bond, that love, was unbreakable. We won. I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to fight for someone you love when everyone thought you were wrong? Have you ever had to stand alone for the truth? How did you find the strength? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar. If this story touched you, please like this video and share it with others. Someone out there might need to hear it. Someone might be in a situation like mine, feeling alone and powerless. Let them know they're not alone. And if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences about family, relationships, and the strength it takes to fight for what matters. Your support means everything. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, real love doesn't manipulate, doesn't isolate, doesn't control. Real love fights. Real love endures. Real love wins. May you always find the courage to fight for the people you love. And may you always recognize real love when you see it. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.